everyone. My name is Christine, and I'm the host here at the Hungarian Heritage podcast, the show where we connect your modern life to your Hungarian heritage by building bridges and connecting the circles of Hungarians around us. This podcast is a place where everyone is welcome, where you don't even need to be Hungarian or speak Hungarian to join in on the fun. Each week, we will talk about all the things that we love about Hungary and Hungarian people. So, if you're looking to make that first connection to your Hungarian heritage, or if you're looking to dive deeper, then this is the place to be. Thanks for joining us today. On this episode of the Hungarian Heritage Podcast, we will be talking about a delicious topic, and that is Kurtos Kalacs. Translation, chimney cakes, that delicious confectionery delight you typically find at a Hungarian street festival. My special guest today is Nicole Shaw-Provillion, who is an expertly trained chimney cake maker, and she's the founder and owner of Kurly Kurtosh in Nutley, New Jersey. Nicole not only makes authentic Hungarian chimney cakes, but she also has a very unique story about how she built her chimney cake business here in the U.S. after living in Budapest for 4 years with her family. You may notice in this episode that the sound may vary from previous episodes, and that is because I was fortunate to have recorded this interview on site at Kurly Kurtosh, where I was surrounded by the delicious smell of chimney cakes during the entire interview. And I often say let's dive in, but I think it would be more fitting to say let's dig in, because by the end of this episode, you will definitely want to visit Nicole and dig into a delicious chimney cake that she makes at Kurly Kurtosh in Nutley, New Jersey. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Hungarian Heritage Podcast. We have a very special guest, and her name is Nicole. She is the owner of Kurly Kurtosh here in Nutley, New Jersey. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you.
I'm excited to have you on the podcast today because I feel like talking about chimney cakes is a great topic because who doesn't love a chimney cake? But also I feel like your story behind how you became the owner of Kurly Kurtosh is equally as exciting. So first of all, chimney cakes, like I said, Kurtos Kalacs in Hungarian. Maybe some people don't know what that is. So would you like to tell us what exactly a chimney cake is?
Yes. So chimney cakes / Kurtosh / Kurtos Kalacs it's a very typical street food. It's a popular street food in Hungary. So if you were to go there, you would see them baking it on the streets over charcoal. I like to tell people it's a dough wrapped around what looks like a rolling pin. And it's baked over charcoal, so it has a crispy outside and it has a fluffy inside. And so when you take it off of this rolling pin, it's spirally. So it's like super fun to eat. It's super fun to watch the process, and it just embodies like a real super fun experience.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like you can't go to Budapest without having a chimney cake at one of the street vendors. They're delicious. And I think your story behind your business is equally as exciting. So you lived in Budapest for a few years. Would you like to tell us how you found yourself in Budapest and lived there for a few years?
Yeah, so my husband worked for Pepsi. And so they asked him to manage compensation for Central Europe. So we ended up going out there. I have 2 children. I worked in corporate America, so I completely left that to go into this adventure, which I was super, super excited about because I traveled a great deal for my previous job doing an internal audit, but I've never been to Central Europe. So to go to that part of the world and it be another language just sounded like a super adventure.
That's awesome. It sounds so exciting, for the people listening because, not everyone has traveled yet. And just to hear these experiences, I think might inspire other people to also take a leap, and go for that and find themselves in another country. Also raising kids, that was probably exciting as well. And that's where you were introduced to the chimney cake. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I worked in a department of internal audit for 2 years. I traveled to over 30 countries.
Wow.
I lived in Spain. I also am from the New York City area, and I didn't even know that it existed.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that too, because I have been, closely related to a lot of Hungarian people and festivals and things like that. And truthfully, I hadn't had a chimney cake until I went to Budapest myself. So I'm not surprised that you hadn't had one, even living in this area.
Right. I didn't even hear of it. And I feel like in the New York City area, we've seen everything.
Agreed.
Something like this would have, there is someone who bakes them out in Queens, but you would have thought that it would have been more well known than what it is.
Yeah, and it like it would have caught on. But I also feel like, food festivals and things like that are really I feel like they're still in their infancy stage as far as all these amazing. So you really have to go to a place like New York, maybe to possibly, see something at least prior to this. So you were in Budapest and you had your first chimney cake. Where was that? Did you stumble upon it, or did someone recommend it?
So what was interesting was that year that we moved to Hungary, they created a festival around the chimney cakes.
Oh, that's cool.
So the first time, I've actually never thought about this, but the first time I think we had it is when we went to the festival, because we moved there in about August. And then they had this huge festival. We met up with another American family, and there were these long lines.
Oh, wow.
Waiting for this pastry, and just the environment and the vibe was so much fun.
Yeah, and when there's a long line for something, it has to be good.
Yeah, and so, ever since then, my kids, it's funny because the kids were really apprehensive because it was different.
Yeah, sure.
They'd rather, I'm not interested. And now they love them, and then now that they have access to them all the time.
Yeah, they're very lucky. How many times did you go back before you're like, I think I might want to start making these? How did that happen for you?
Well, so one aspect is that I can't eat a lot of sweets in the United States.
Okay.
They're typically overly sweet and highly processed.
Yes.
And I get sick. And when I went to Hungary, I could eat these without any issues whatsoever.
Yes.
I could eat a whole one.
Yeah, which was probably fantastic, right?
And I was just I don't have any issues. I finally can eat sweets.
Right.
And not have a problem. And then I began to see the cultural aspect behind it.
Right.
The joy, the excitement. If there is a Kurtosh around, if there's a stand, everyone's where is it?
Absolutely.
And it's immediate joy. And I was just if you bring this to the United States, you're almost guaranteed.
Agreed.
To have a good time whenever this is around.
Absolutely.
That was the real impetus to say, you know what? I want to be part of something fun.
Right.
I want to do something different.
Right.
And then I just began to study and understand why it actually is not all over the United States.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. And what did you find? Why isn't it all over the U.S., or at least up until now with your amazing business?
Right. So in the United States, food needs to be cheap.
Okay.
And it needs to be fast.
Okay. That makes sense.
And so these are actually all made by hand.
Yes.
And so the process in and of itself requires a lot of labor. So hands down in the United States, that cannot be cheap.
Right. It's not really where you can make 100 of them and then, freeze them and, things like that. It's probably more of a handmade, do it right in front of you type of process.
Because the whole excitement and joy in the Kurtosh is seeing it being made, smelling it.
Absolutely.
And the craftsmanship. So it's almost like an art form that is included in the whole process of actually enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely have a lot of pictures from, places that we had visited in Budapest, videos of them cooking them and just seeing the steam rise out of it. I'm actually hungry for one right now, just thinking about it. But I agree. I feel like that's probably why it hasn't been so popular, I guess, as a business prior to your exciting venture here in Nutley, New Jersey.
It's not easy.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
The first thing is just getting a team to be able to actually make them good enough.
Right.
And then you have to be able to build awareness behind it.
Yes.
And then you have to have You have to make money.
Yeah, absolutely. It can't just be a fun adventure. It has to be something that makes sense on paper as well.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
When you put all those three together,
right.
And businesses in general are very typically are very hard to build.
Sure.
And to have them exist long term. So when you add those additional elements on it,
right.
it becomes like super, super hard. So that's why I approached it from a very unique position, by making it more experiential. So we are an experiential boutique bakery.
Right, exactly. And, you do have a business background, so that gave you like the wherewithal to say, hey, I want to make this happen because this is fun and it's delicious. But behind the scenes, you definitely, had, like I said, had the ideas of knowing what makes a business successful. And I feel like that's important. You can't just like dive in with both feet without doing research.
Right. When I first started, I created, just because my background's business,
right.
Internal audit,
sure.
CPA, a financial analyst, and then I did marketing. I thought that I could just create this business, and someone said, you need to really put together a business plan. So I was like, okay.
Right.
But then I began to realize that was probably the smartest thing, because it really vets out all the different ideas.
Oh, absolutely.
What you think is going to happen and how is that going to happen.
Sure.
You to realize it can't happen when you think it should.
Right.
And that's when I began to realize the experience is really what's going to keep this alive.
Right, exactly. I think that's super important. And just like you said, a lot of businesses might, not realize how much goes into the behind the scenes. There's so much more to it. Okay, so you had your aha moment in Budapest, I imagine, right? So you had to learn how to make these chimney cakes. So tell us a little bit about that experience of learning to make the chimney cake.
So in Hungary, they typically make it over charcoal.
Okay.
So I said, I'm going to bring it back. We're going to make it over charcoal. It's going to be so authentic. So I first had to find someone to even teach me how to do that. And most people actually do not know how to make them.
Right.
I was in the city, so I'm asking people who are like city dwellers. I ended up asking my Hungarian teacher to find someone to teach me. And so she would go up to a number of the different street stands and ask the people if they'd be willing to teach me. And she found someone who was, and he didn't speak any English. So the first day she was with me, and after that, I was on my own in the depths of Hungary, going into like the local area. And then they ended up only worked with them for a couple of weekends, and then ended up finding someone who received a Master Craft Award for the best in the country.
Wow.
So she was a family friend of my son's soccer assistant.
Oh, wow. That's exciting. So did the second person that you work with, did they speak English?
No.
Okay. So both experiences, learning how to make chimney cakes, no English whatsoever.
Absolutely.
So that,
as a translator.
What was the most challenging thing, other than the language, was learning through this interpreter?
Actually, I look back on it, nothing really, because luckily I found someone who was willing to translate. And then the baker was as passionate, she was more passionate about chimney cakes than I was.
Is that even possible?
But because now I know how I look to other people when I speak. But because we were both passionate and we had a commonality and all about the quality, I picked up extremely quickly. She was super impressed. And there wasn't any, there were like zero challenges in that process. I mean, just besides that she didn't speak English, so I couldn't get 100% exactly what she's saying, because translating as easy as, you lose some of the nuance. But overall, it was a fantastic experience.
That's awesome. So how long did you train with this person?
She did not do it over charcoal. She used an electric oven.
Okay.
That's just the way you're really going to execute a business long term.
Right.
You have to worry about being outside. And so I must have worked with her for about 6 months.
Wow, that's
every day.
Right, of course, but that's still like extensive training. So you were in Budapest for, did you say 4 years?
Yes,
approximately?
For 4 years. But this only happened at the latter part.
Okay.
2 years in, or probably 2 years in, I was like, this is an idea. And then only 1 year in, we start.
Okay.
Or 1 year after that, we put me into my fourth year that I began to really look.
Oh, that's awesome. So you definitely had time to also work on like the business plan at that point, so that when you came back to the US, you were able to, I guess, get it started. Can you tell us a little bit about that process? Like, as far as what did you do when you came back to the US? Like, what was the first thing?
So even before I came to the US, I had to figure out a name.
Okay.
So I actually worked on that in Hungary. So
Great.
I had a designer in the United States work on the actual execution of the logo, because they're in the United States.
Sure.
They have more of the feel of what's going to...
Absolutely.
But then from the naming, it was really cool because I was able to go... My kids didn't go to the American school.
Okay.
But I had a name.
Okay.
And I was able to go to the American school and test out different names with the Americans.
Oh,
to
wow.
see how it would really work here. Because
Wow.
you can have an idea, you can be passionate.
Sure.
And then people can't say Kurtos Kalacs, so then that's an issue. So I was able to work on the creative in Hungary, the inspiration of like Budapest, and kind of see what's going on, but then being able to test it at the American.
I love that you did all that like market research before you even got back. Kind of like the people in the mall that call you over and say, hey, can you want to look at these, items and tell us what you think?
I had friends at the American school. So like one day after school, I was walking up to the American parents and like, you see the sign, how do you say it? And they were looking at it, and because that's actually what's going to happen in the United States.
Absolutely.
Like, they're going to see the logo. So I was able to test the logo. I was able to test the picture with real live American. So when I brought it back here, by the time I brought it back here, the logo was locked, ready to go. We had the colors down packed. By the time I got back here, we hit the ground.
Wow, I love that. I love that you had all of that, going on beforehand, because it just shows like your passion for it. So you're back in the US and you have all these things like locked down, and, tell us how you started out with making the chimney cakes before you got to this place right now.
So currently we're in a storefront that we just opened in September, but prior to that, I realized most storefronts didn't work with the chimney cake. So I said, we need to first do a proof of concept. Pricing is a little bit different. We make it upscale, like it's artisanal. So our flour is being actually sourced from Europe. When I first made my Kurtosh here, I used the best flour in the United States. It was not coming out the same.
Right. People do say that baked goods are definitely different in Europe because of the flour.
Right. And so I just couldn't understand. I tried the different variants. I tried the bread one variant. I tried like the pie variant. Nothing came out the same.
Wow.
So it wasn't until I got the European flour that I was like spot on. I've been making it for a year.
Isn't that crazy to think about?
It's absolutely. People who are non-celiac, gluten sensitive, to eat these chimney cakes.
That's amazing.
Any issues, but it's not gluten free.
Gotcha.
So, and it goes to the quality of the flour. It's a traditional wheat. So through the traditional milling process, and it doesn't go through the crossbreeding and hybridization like the wheat in the United States. So that was kind of the process of first getting the recipe down pat. I had machinery brought over shipped over from Europe. And then what I would just do is continuously bake in my home, go sample them out to friends, get people's perspective, try different flavors.
Right.
We started off with like the cocoa and the coconuts, and go out to the fairs and festivals.
Wow, yeah.
And the idea was to do catering. That no one's going to hire me if they don't even know what this is. And right. To know what this process is.
Right. You have to scaffold it. You have to start out and then.
Exactly. Yeah. So we did a lot of fairs and festivals. We did some bridal shows because we wanted to be at weddings. And from that, we started getting corporate collaboration. So like Williams-Sonoma saw us out one.
Wow.
And they wanted us to come into their store. Because
that's great.
To give people an experience. Then we ended up I popped up at Bloomingdale's, and then they wanted me to start, the bridal department wanted me to start working with them as well. So we're really kind of putting ourselves into this really like niche, higher end product group. I was also testing up the price point, like what's going to make this viable with all these fees in the United States, and bring value to people who enjoy it. I like to call them Kurtosh lovers. And so that's what I kind of just spent the first year doing, just going all over, seeing if people even enjoyed it.
Right. Yeah.
And then I realized, wait a minute, the flour's from Europe. How can I make this better? So I started working with a spice purveyor out of New York City. So all the spices that we're using, they're harvested within like months and years, like within a year.
Wow.
Versus a lot of the other ingredients that are harvested over a long period of time. In Hungary, that's how food is. So they even brought us closer to that real true.
Like that authentic. I don't think it could be any more authentic with the equipment and your ingredients. I'm hungry now.
Yes. And craftsmanship.
And the craftsmanship, absolutely. So you have like the trifecta of authenticity there, which is amazing.
And then within the first year, or like the second year, I was invited to bake there for the Hungarian embassy in Washington, D.C.
Wow, what an honor that must have been.
That really kind of solidified for anyone who's questioning, are these authentic?
Yeah, definitely. If the embassy is asking you to bake for them, then you're definitely authentic, that's what an honor that must have been.
Yeah, and then we partnered with an Italian cafe out of Manhattan, which was super difficult to even get that partnership or collaboration as well. And so everyone puts Nutella on chimney cakes globally. So, we just started building those relationships, and then we began to see that, okay, people see the value and the experience and the quality, and did that for a few years. We catered for Unilever. We were going to cater for Google.
Okay.
Right before COVID. That got canceled, and now we're just waiting that one out. And then we started testing a storefront. And then we ended up on Channel 7 News. I tested out the storefront in a cafe. And then things just kind of kept moving. There was interest. People were traveling. Some towns were bringing me in as almost their local, because I didn't have a storefront, they were bringing me in as almost a local shop.
Wow.
So I was able to be on their lineup, and it was a really good experience.
That's amazing. You could see how much work goes into making a dream come true. Because it's not overnight. I mean, it's more than just the dream. There's all the sweat equity that goes into every little part. Now you're in a storefront, and now you're here and you're open. And tell us how that's been with people finding you. People are coming from far and wide to have this authentic chimney cake.
Yes. So the space that we have is very unique. It's not in a city center. It's not on a super busy road. It's a throughway, so it's somewhat busy. There's a lot of people passing, but the idea is to make it more of a destination location. So when you have a destination location, you don't have the walking traffic, and you don't have people always seeing you, so they have to know who you are. Because we've been doing this for 4 years, we have a following from Union County, Essex, and Bergen.
Wow.
So we exist in Essex, pretty much in the center. So we have access to the Bergen County, the Union County. We're right off of the Garden State Parkway. So people can easily stop off if they're traveling.
Exactly. So tell us a little bit more about like the gift boxes. Like, what's that all about? What can people order from you?
So what's actually interesting, even before the gift boxes, is in the legend goes that in Prague, an American went there, saw this chimney cake, Kurtosh, and they said you need to fill it and make it fun to eat. So they changed the shape and made it in the shape of an ice cream cone, and they put ice cream inside.
Yes, you see that a lot on the streets in Budapest as well.
Yes, so that's become like very widespread, and we do the same thing here. We partner with a small handcraft ice cream shop in Hillsdale, New Jersey, Sprinkles. And so we just do hard ice cream, but we combine those two. We take the Kurtosh and we make it into a cone. We call those curly cones. We have the ice cream with it.
Right.
That has been a super hit. I mean, it might even just be more what we do in the summer.
Right, exactly. They look delicious. I've had things like that before. My son has, every time we go to Budapest, that's the first thing he, runs to get, because it's like everything wrapped up into one dessert. Chimney cake, ice cream, Nutella, all the goodness, all in the cone, which is amazing that I see on your social media that you're always posting new flavors with this. Sprinkles, you said, is the ice cream part of it.
Yes.
And they're amazing flavors. They're pretty unique too, even though you do have traditional flavors as well. I love that you're working with another small business to and partner with them, using their ice cream. I think that's a nice thing. I feel like businesses helping businesses, I think, is a smart way to go, especially if you're local.
No, so everything that we do, our coffee comes from a local coffee shop in Wayne, New Jersey, where he roasts it himself. The coffee's coming from Brazil. That's Cabana coffee. And then our tea is coming from a master gardener. She's by Rutgers University.
Okay.
And she grows her own herbs. It's an herbal tea.
Wow, that's amazing.
She uses mostly organic ingredients as much as she possibly can.
That's great.
And then we have a water machine that's imported from Italy, and it provides high quality sparkling water, which is flat and sparkling water that's filtered. And so
Yes.
we'll be using that to make sparklades, which are lemon juice. We're using fresh lemon juice.
Wow.
With syrups that come from farms. So there's one that's in Maine, there's one that's in Catskills. So we'll be using flavors like the elder
Nice.
flower, which is very popular in Hungary. So
Yes.
I'm super excited about that.
That's
To
exciting.
make really nice, light, pure lemonades.
Wow, that sounds delicious. I honestly can't wait to taste all those flavors. I have had the sparkling water. Highly recommend. It's so good. I actually went home and Googled it last time when I visited. I'm like, I think I might need one of those in my house.
And so from doing all that, the cone, then the boxes came out because that's what people wanted. They wanted
Sure.
to take them. And
Absolutely.
they were super cute. And they're like, I'm going to take this to my son. I'm going to take some to the party. So they
Yeah.
said, how do I do this in a way that's enjoyable? So we cut them up in rings.
Nice.
We put different flavors. So people are able to really enjoy the Kurtosh beyond just right in front of them, which was very hard because you have to eat them at room temperature. And typically the exciting part is that they're hot out the oven.
Sure. Well, I feel like that's great because I think people do want to bring something like, a Kurly Kurtosh to a party, and bring a box of them. Because I feel like people do, if they know what chimney cakes are, or if you have any like Hungarian heritage, you do want to share that with your friends that might not have Hungarian heritage because it's new and exciting to taste these delicious things. And you also do party favors as well. Like you could do favors for any type of occasion.
What's nice is it's all customizable. They were having International Day and everyone was bringing in their own food. So we were able to take one of the Kurtosh, cut those up in pieces. I try to do everything that kind of reminds me of Hungary, and so Hungary has their apricot jam.
Yes.
So our dips are coming from a farm, so it's real fruit.
Wow,
dips,
that's amazing. I love that you're working with so many locally sourced places. It just makes the flavors so much more rich when you taste all of them. That's pretty good. Like I feel like I've seen on your socials when people have ordered for different parties, and it's just such a beautiful presentation. Like I love how, colored ribbons and, you've used different colored sprinkles and just really, it's so festive looking. I definitely am looking forward to my next occasion that I can order a special batch of them for that. Yeah, so this is very exciting. And I know the first time that I visited you here, there were people like nonstop. Like there wasn't like an extra minute to chit chat in between.
So that always happens when I invite someone.
Yes, of course. But like I feel like people were really excited to be here. And I noticed that like some of the people have been here before. I know you have like your locals and some people travel to come here. Do you know who has traveled the furthest?
Well, I've had people come hours away, so it's probably 2 hours furthest.
Wow.
From Pennsylvania.
That's pretty great.
One family traveled, and then we catered at their wedding.
Oh.
I think the best thing is just seeing how excited people are. So the real mission behind this business is to spread happiness.
Absolutely.
And I spread that through the chimney cakes. And
Absolutely.
a lot of people don't understand, but when they come in and they see us, they're like, we get it.
Absolutely. Well, the smell just like envelops you when you walk in. And it just reminds me of like when we were younger, like watching cartoons, when a cartoon character would smell something and they start to just waft through the air. And I feel like that's how I felt when I came in that day. I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm just mesmerized by the smells because it just brings you back. So if you've been to Hungary or if you've been to a Hungarian festival and you smell those smells, walking into your shop it's just like a reminder. And we all love that. We all love to have that memory of our heritage or a place we've been, or we've visited and we've traveled, because I feel like food is the center of that, and it's a big, sensory reminder of places that we've visited. So can you tell us how people can find you?
Yes, so we're conveniently located 5 minutes off of the Garden State Parkway, exit 150. It's the Montclair Nutley exit. When you come, you can enjoy a Kurtosh, you can enjoy a curly cone, you can take some for parties. We'll also be opening up the space for private events.
Oh, that's exciting.
We have people ask to do private events, so we're in the process of talking to someone about engagement parties,
wow.
brunch. And then what we do is we collaborate with a couple of the local vendors, and then we'll put those together and make that like a savory option for these events. Or we can just do little bites and then use the actual chimney cakes for a dessert experience for parties.
That's exciting. I definitely would like to have an experience here. So now I'm thinking like, should I plan my next birthday party here?
It'll be super, super fun. So we're testing it out right now.
Great. Feel free to use me as a tester. I will be here in a minute.
More and more people are coming because they're telling their friends. Word of mouth has been
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it always is, because you can trust your friends, when you're eating something delicious. So obviously we're going to put all of that information in the show notes, but on social media, how can people find you?
So it's just Kurly Kurtosh, Kurly, Kurtosh, Kurtosh.
I do like how you kept a little bit of the Hungarian authenticity, clearly in the chimney cake itself, but in the name, which I think is pretty special. Great. I feel like people are going to be able to find you, and they're definitely going to be able to come in and experience delicious chimney cakes. And also too, I do remember when I visited and you had a lot of customers, I saw your passion in explaining what it's all about. And you said it almost to every customer, and that's a great experience as part of the chimney cake making experience itself. So I feel like you should definitely come out to Nutley, New Jersey, and taste some of these chimney cakes at Kurly Kurtosh here with Nicole, because she's going to give you an authentic experience, and you will not be disappointed. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
One of the things that I realized I want this space to do is to kind of build on. Even though we sell chimney cake, we actually are in the business of really kind of spreading happiness, spreading empathy.
Yes.
A lot of people don't understand the Hungarian culture.
Yes.
They don't maybe even know where Hungary is even located on the map.
That's true.
So when they come in and they fall in love with this food, and then they meet a Hungarian. Hungarians are able to celebrate their culture while other people are able to recognize the culture.
Hungarians are very proud of their culture and their experience, and they're also extremely welcoming and hospitable. And, if you've ever, and you have, because you've lived in Budapest, and if you've sat at a table with a Hungarian and they're feeding you, you're going to get twice as much on your plate. Even if you're like, no, they're going to scoop a little bit more, because they're very warm and hospitable, and they love to share everything that that's all about them. Food, culture, the whole thing. We're excited to be here, and we would look forward to seeing more of you come out to Nutley, New Jersey, and to experience a little chimney cake with Nicole. And I think she would be happy to help you out in that adventure.
Yes, so I like to say an authentic taste of Central Europe. # no passport required.
I love that. # no passport required. So again, we're going to have all this information in the show notes, because I think people do want to learn a lot more about Kurly Kurtosh and where to find you. You don't have to worry. We'll connect you up with Nicole, and she will definitely connect you with some delicious Kurly Kurtosh. So Nicole, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I think, just your business and your experience alone living in Budapest just carved out an amazing part of your life. If you look back 15 years, you might not even imagine that this was going to be part of your life, and look where you are now. And I'm excited to see how you continue to grow. I'm excited to also come back and eat a lot of chimney cakes and bring my friends. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me today on this episode of the Hungarian Heritage Podcast.
Don't forget to check the show notes for information about this episode and how you can connect with Nicole at Kurly Kurtosh on all of her social media platforms. If you're looking for a taste of that authentic Hungarian chimney cake, I think you're going to find that at Kurly Kurtosh in Nutley, New Jersey. Make sure you connect with Nicole so that you too can taste a little bit of Hungary on your plate, or maybe in a chimney cake cone. Thanks to my audio editor, Tori Irvin, for working her audio magic on this episode. Our theme music is Hungarian Dance by Pony Music, used with a special license from Envato Market. Thanks again for listening, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts so we can continue to connect our modern lives with our Hungarian heritage. Until next time, goodbye everyone. Sziasztok mindenkinek!